This is Max, and this is my walkthrough for PROG1442. For my project, I recreated the card game Blackjack, and in this video I'll just quickly go over my code and then the game itself. So, starting with the card is just a model that presents the card itself, so it'll hold the value and the suit of the card. This gets used in the deck component, which creates an array of 52, simulating a deck of 52 cards. It also has a string array of the suits, so hearts, spade, club, diamond, and it also the card values 2 to ace. So in the deck constructor, it'll loop through that empty array of cards. It'll create a new card, sets the value. So right now it's 0, so index 0, 2, and the card type, which is also 0, a heart. And then sets that first value to 2 of hearts. And the next one would be count 1, index 1, 3 of hearts, and so on and so forth. Uh, Here it checks that if it gets to the end of the card value array, it sets that count to 0, but then it increments the type count to 1. So then the next would be 2 of spade, next 3 spades, so on and so forth. Once that's done, it will shuffle the deck. So here it'll take the first position in the card array, or the deck array, sorry, uh, holds that in a temporary variable, randomly selects a position within that deck of cards, switches them out, and then puts that position, uh, random's positions card as the first array, or first card. So it just kind of goes back and forth as it increments, just simulating a shuffled deck. Uh, Here is also a method. It just draws the card. It takes in the input of how many cards have been drawn before and returns that deck's position value. It also checks that if it's an ace, it'll return true, or sets its is ace property to true and returns that card, which gets used in the next component. Here it holds the mechanics of the game itself. So first up is the calculate hand. It takes in a list of card, which is the hand, and then it loops through them, and then it calculates if it's a king, queen, or a jack, it adds 10 to the score. If it's ace, it adds 11, else it'll just add its basic value. So in blackjack, aces can have either a 1 or 11 points to it. So here it just calculates if the total so far is over 21, it'll loop through the hand to see if there's any aces, and then if there is, it'll subtract that 10-point difference, making that ace value 1. So if uh, if that difference is less than 21 or makes that score less than 21, it just breaks it without checking if there's any other aces. So let's say if there is 2 aces in the hand, uh, the first ace would have its score difference 10 taken away out of it, and then it'll see it's under 21 and then breaks out of it. And then just returns the score. Here is more of a simulating uh, the computer's turn. So it takes in the player's hand and the computer's hand, calculates both their scores, and then depending on how the score is, it'll either return false, which makes it stand, or return true, which makes it draw another card. So, yeah, it would just automatically return true if none of these went through. Next up is compare hands. So this is to see who wins. Zero returns an int. Uh, Zero means it's a tie. Returning one means it's the player. Two means it's the computer that won. So again, it takes the hands, calculates them, and then goes through this check to see who would win. So to tie this all together, we go to the main page, and this is the code behind that ties all of it together. So here is the computer and the player hand, which is a list of cards. Uh, all the constructors are setting all the variables to be used within this game, and then after it gets all set up, it sets up the game itself. So here, uh, just kind of simulates dealing the cards to the players. So each player starts with two cards each. So, uh, yeah, sorry. This bool, player's turn, just sees if it's the player's turn or not. So if it's not the player's turn, then it's the computer's turn. So they get their card drawn first, adds it to their hand, switches the player's turn to true, and then goes through that list again. Or sorry, increments the count. Uh, Make sure it's less than four, and then adds the card to the player's hand, and then just repeats itself until all four cards are handed out. Here it flips the card for the computer. So it's one unknown card and then one known card. Calculates the score so far, and then it sets the player's turn to true. So here, this is the hit button. So this is if the player or computer decides to draw another card. So because they both do the same thing, I just put that in its own method. Here, it checks if it's the player's turn. So that means the card is sorry. It sets its hand to either the computer or the player's turn, depending if it's the player's turn or not. So add a card to that hand, and then sets that value to either the computer or the player, and then increments the draw count. After that, it checks if the score is under 21, and if it's over, then it ends the player's turn right there, and then it goes to the computer's turn. Or sorry, yeah, it ends the player's turn, it goes to the computer's turn. That's what I meant. Anyways, um, so if the player decides to stand, it disables the buttons, and then it goes to the computer's turns. Sets it up so um, in the feedback it just says it's the computer's turn. Uh, Here it adds that flip card, the previously flipped card, into the computer's hand, so then it calculates that hand, and then it just delays for 2 seconds, just so the player can read it, and then it goes to the computer's turn, which is just a while loop. So while this is true, I'll just keep going through it. So here's the choices. So decide to either hit or not. So if it returns false, it sets the game to false, and then uh, makes this while loop false, and then jumps to this find winner method, and then adds the feedback to the text, compares the hands for the winner, and this is where it returns the 1, 2, or 0, and then sets the feedback text box to its respected feedback. And then just the restart button restarts the game by just simply reloading the main page. So let's play this game. So here you see the flipped card, the first card revealed, my cards, the scores, the feedback. Here's a little info button, just showing how to play. So we'll hit. Got a 15. Try it again. Oh, so he got an ace and a king. I got 5, 6, 4, and 6, which both equal 21. So it's a tie. Let's restart. Let's hit, hit. Oh, I went over. So the computer, he's just gonna stand. So that's like, oh, too bad. Player won, or the computer wins. Let's try it again. I think I'll stand. Oh, he beat me by one. Okay, one more. Yeah, I'll stand. Oh man, this is a bad. I gotta win one just to see it works. Yeah, blackjacks. Blackjack isn't really my game. Uh, See if I can win this one. There we go. So yeah, I win. So yeah, this is my project. Thank you for watching. Bada bing, bada boom.